Hi, and welcome back to The Break Room, a podcast about Black mental wellness in the workplace. And I am Dr. Nikki. I am a licensed psychologist in the great state of Texas, and I work with Black folks around sexual and relational wellness. And I also do Black mental wellness training and consultation in the corporate workspace. And I'm excited to be here again today with my illustrious co-hosts.
Hello. How's everybody doing? My name is Dr. Olajide Bamishigbin. I'm a health psychologist. Like Dr. Nikki, I also do kind of some different types of work, some DEI work, I build some surveys, climate evaluations, stuff like that. As well as, I'm married to my beautiful wife and I have my two wonderful kids. So I'm really excited to, be here today and get started on this topic with you, Dr. Nikki.
I love it. So we're just going to jump right in. So if you're new to the break room, welcome. If you are, as they say, true to this and not new to this, we always start off with a little bit of the tea. So we just want to sort of talk about some of the things that's going on in the air today. Gita, you were gonna set us off today on that with the tea.
Yeah, I got this one. So this month, what has started are the January 6th committee meetings. Okay, so January 6th, let's do a little rewind for anybody who doesn't remember, although I'm pretty sure you remember.
How could we forget?
How do I say this accurately? White supremacists stormed the Capitol.
What I always say, enough? I think so, but what I always say is, and I quote, them white folks lost their mind. Like it just,
they lost it.
They lost their, like when you see the footage, there is just like chaos and anarchy and rabidness in their eyes.
It's mob mentality. It's mob mentality.
It is.
100%. They entirely lost sense of their individual selves.
They did. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's what happened on January 6th last year. And although it's been about a year and a half, finally some hearings have started. Mm-hmm. In Congress with congressmen and Congress members, and different senators sitting around and talking about it. And I'm going to say something. I didn't think 45 was going to get elected. Okay, I never thought that was going to happen, so that was a shock. Mm-hmm. When he got elected, I knew immediately, and my wife can attest to this, that he was going to not give up gracefully because he's never been the type to lose gracefully. I knew from 2016 he was never just going to say, "Oh, I lost," and walk on out. So whatever. And throughout his whole presidency, I've been convinced that, this man is just going to skate by like without consequence. Like mm-hmm. He's just going to be able to do anything he wants. Like mm-hmm. Sure, he'll get sued, right? Yeah, he got impeached twice. But as far as like real tangible consequences, I never thought that was going to happen. I'm going to say the first day of that committee, I watched the first night of that committee and I was like, this man might get in trouble. Like this man may actually get in some trouble.
Because let me tell you something. When I say the January 6th committee has receipts, they have receipts with the P, the hard, like they page after page after page, like it's juicy. It's juicy. Mm-hmm. Even the news media that I watch, they were like, well, we didn't know this. Like it's, they got all the dirt, all mm-hmm. of it. And it's worse than we imagined. For me,
it's worse than we thought. It's worse than we thought.
It's worse than we thought. And to be clear, what we saw was a full-on shit show. So to know that there was even more behind the scenes, my God.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Like if they got a hold of people, they would have actually killed them. To be clear, this is not hyperbole, not joking. They would have killed them.
100% Nancy Pelosi will be gone. 100% Mike Pence will be gone. 100% AOC gone. Like in their offices, no doubt. That's how wild they
are. And I think the thing that still troubles me about all of this is that, there are people who like, y'all were going to get killed. Even Mitch McConnell. I don't know. You might not have made it, bro. Like, like it was unsure if you were going to, like, I don't know what side they thought you were on. But y'all are still defending this man and defending all the stuff that he wanted, and they're still carrying out his plan, his fascist plan for America, his fascist vision for America, right? And he was going to kill y'all. He was going to have y'all murdered. It's beyond me. It's beyond me.
It is beyond me. And what I always find throughout this whole process, and really from 2016, this sort of weird. This is a different sort of double consciousness, because there's a part of me that will be like, oh shit, we in trouble, America. And then another part of me is like, oh, look at these white people just acting all kind of crazy. Like it's a very split kind of consciousness. Jide, I'm glad that you have the level of optimism that he might get in trouble. White people be whiting, and I just feel like, I don't know. Until I see him in some medicals, until I see him in some handcuffs,
some prison stripes.
That's it.
You're right.
That's it. Because he still has all of the rights of the office, right? And so they have Secret Service protection throughout their life. What happens when you go to jail? Like prison? Is that like a special?
That's a great question.
You know what I'm saying?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, there's some legitimate logistic questions.
Do the Secret Service go to jail too?
Like that, and I don't want that gig. I quit. I don't want that. So, man. But when your own children testify against you, that's also a new level of.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we shall see. I think there's about 2 more weeks of hearings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not looking good. It started off with a bang, and it's not looking good, and it's not going to get better.
Because they haven't dropped the ball. Now that I will say, I've been impressed. Those are my tax dollars hard at work. They
Yes. Finally.
Right?
Finally.
So we'll keep y'all posted about how that goes and what happens next. But we wanted to talk about we wanted to talk about, at the break room we always like to talk about sort of things in a both and perspective. So today actually is the federal holiday for Juneteenth. And yesterday was the actual holiday of Juneteenth, June 19th. Is when we celebrate. And so we just wanted to talk about Juneteenth, because it is a day that is centered solely on Black celebration, right? It's about freedom. It's about liberation. It's about Black joy. But we also want to sort of talk about like the corporatization of that holiday, and in particular around what the experiences of Black folks that work in corporations that are sort of co-opting the ideas and optics of Juneteenth for market or for profit, and as well as, even if you don't work in those settings, what it's like to be in workspaces with white folks who don't fully understand, and maybe not are even interested in fully understanding what the holiday is. I saw a family member of mine posted on Facebook. They were like, why are white people wishing other white people happy Juneteenth? Like, what?
Oh God.
You see? And so this is the experience, right, of Black Americans, right? So that I feel
Did you say white people wishing other white
people wishing other white people happy Juneteenth? Yes.
Pardon me? Okay.
But are you surprised by that?
I'm gonna ask you a question. And the thing is, in America, everything is commodified, right? That is a fact, right? Like every single holiday is going to be commodified. It don't matter if it's a holiday to commemorate the freedom. So it's going to be commodified at Walmart, right? At Target, at whatever. So I have a statement, and then I have a question for you. Okay. I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Miami, Florida. I never heard about Juneteenth at all. Okay, until I moved to California, right? And then there are Black people around here start talking about it. So could you tell our listeners, what is Juneteenth?
Oh, awesome. Yes, that is a really good point. And I was trying to remember when I first learned about it, and I can't quite remember. I don't remember a time not knowing about it, but I also will acknowledge that as a Louisianian, we didn't celebrate it. So it wasn't until I moved to Texas that the idea around celebrating it, but I knew about it before then. And I just don't remember when, but June 19th. So, if you know anything about the history of Black folks in this country, you may be aware that we talk about the enslavement of Black folks ending in 1865. But the reason why that date is important is because the Emancipation Proclamation was actually signed in 1863. And so why we celebrate Juneteenth is it represents the last day that there was active resistance towards that legislation from a federal level, and that the last group of enslaved Black folks were informed that slavery was now abolished and illegal, right? And so it took about that year and a half period, almost 2 years, for codified law to actually become real life experience for folks. And so June 19th in 1865, this general comes with a troop of Black soldiers and finally reaches Galveston, Texas, which is about 45 minutes from where I live right now, and told the folks that were working there, like, hey, no working. I say that like they were on shift, but the folks that were there enslaved, that, actually y'all are free, right? And you're no longer required legally to do this work. And I have a good friend and scholar who I really respect and admire. And what she always talks about is how Juneteenth is really about the celebration of our ability to revision ourselves, right? So in one instance, this concept about who you are as an enslaved person is now not the same, right? And so now all of these things that maybe I have held in my most tender and vulnerable moments of hope and expectation for better, for freedom, is now in an instant true, right? And so this idea that
it's really beautiful.
It's really beautiful. I love the way that she talks about it. And I think that that's the power of the holiday. So for me, it's been important to sort of acknowledge it, internalize it, and think about it just from that perspective, right? So, probably in my 20s, I came to the realization that, like, racism is endemic. Like, this is not a thing that we're going to get over. This is part of what this country is about, right? And so when you acknowledge that, it does shift how you have a relationship with the concepts of liberation or freedom, and the way that sort of, and the potency of your ability to vision a free life for yourself, right? That most of us as Black folks that are aware of intersecting systems of oppression and work against that, we have a really good understanding that nothing is going to be immediately better for Black folks as a collective in our lifetimes, right? But the power of the vision and pushing towards liberation as a real living concept, right? And that at any point we could, right? We get enough collective ideology around the same thing, enough collective movement, enough collective hoping and planning and plotting, right? Then things can change. And so that's sort of what all of those things that Juneteenth represents. And
wow.
And so, now we have, this is where things get interesting, right? Even when we think about the January 6th stuff. So now we have Joe Biden in office, and he ran his whole platform on, he got the Black vote. Like he started in South Carolina and moved on, right? And his whole thing, we got him in office. Like, let's just name it and claim it. Black women in particular.
Period. No question.
We got him in office.
Question.
And then, he helped himself along by putting Kamala Harris on the ticket, right? So now we have these folks in office that are supposedly representing a more progressive Black agenda. And so some low-hanging fruit, I think, that they took advantage of. And that's one is like getting federal legislation around anti-lynching laws. And then the other one was...
That hasn't happened yet, though.
It has. They signed it in like a couple months ago.
Oh, they signed it in? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed it.
What is this? This might have just been like April, though. Like, you didn't miss it by much. And then it instituted Juneteenth as a federal holiday, and they actually did it last year. So this is our first year, right? So on the one hand, I really like to sort of think about the whole 1619 framework with, like Black Americans have made America the biggest promise that it could ever be. Like if America wasn't forced to deal with us as Black folks, it wouldn't be as evolved in its sense of democracy and its ideals, right?
Right.
So I can get with that, right? And I want acknowledgement of that. On the other hand, once white people get a hold of something,
of anything,
anything,
they transform it. They don't know how to just hold gently and appreciate.
Toni Morrison has a quote. Toni Morrison has a quote that says, "White folks, if they don't know nothing else, they know how to go too far." It's something like that. I need to look it up. Like you can guarantee they're gonna go a step too far. They don't know when to stop. That's what the quote is. Yep. They don't know when to stop, and so therefore, now we have all of these corporate places rolling out Juneteenth, all the things.
Walmart. Target, Juneteenth shirts, Juneteenth plates, Juneteenth napkins, Juneteenth ice cream,
Even my HEB today, I love this good HEB down here in Texas grocery store. I've never had a bad word to say about HEB. And 2 weeks ago, I was rolling through with my little cart and passed the end cap, and I was like, HEB. And I backed up and looked. They kept their display small, I'll give them that, but it was a whole entire Juneteenth display. The plates, the napkins, the streamers, the mugs, the tumblers. They had all everything.
I'm going to be honest with you. I honestly don't even particularly. That in and of itself doesn't bother me. Right? Just the napkins and the ice cream and the whatever, that doesn't bother me. The thing that bothers me is I'd like to go to the CEO of HEB and be like, okay, it's Juneteenth. How many Black employees do you have? How are they doing? How are they paid? Those are my questions for you. 3 questions. How many do you have? How are they doing? How are they paid? Because I would rather you do that than do this performative stuff. Fix that. That's the best way to honor Juneteenth.
All day, every day. Run us some coins. Let's talk about reparations. You lobbying for reparations, HEB? You lobbying for reparations, Walmart? Where your lobbying dollars going? That's the piece. So what I thought, one is for us to sit about, right? It's extremely empty. And also it only furthers your agenda, right? It's only putting more money in your pocket. And then giving you something to put on your DEI page for your company website to say that you value your Black employees, right? It's still a metric that you have established and that you define what is valuable or not valuable. It's disconnected from the intention, the spirit, the idea of the holiday.
But in that sense, so I'm going to ask you a question. How is that different than any other holiday in the United States of America?
So that's the thing. How is it different? And it's not because this whole time I've been thinking, I was like, I bet the LGBTQ community feels the same way about Pride. They got Pride Skittles. They got Pride Skittles. Okay,
Pride Skittles.
They got Pride Skittles.
I thought Skittles were inherently Pride though. They're already there. Right. I thought they already got it.
Google it.
Okay, I believe you.
And so again, right? That's another movement started on the backs of Black and brown gender queer people, right? And now has been taken over by corporate mainstream white supremacist functions, right? So I agree. It's like every holiday in America, right?
Was it a mistake to leave Texas and become a federal holiday? I know that's a bold question, but I'm just going to throw it out. Was it a mistake?
Was it a mistake? That's a good question. Part of me wants to say yes. So here's the thing, right? Here's where I can't fully say yes, because there's somebody out there right now as a Black person that learned about Juneteenth because of this mainstreaming.
That's right. That's true. Mm-hmm.
Because that's how embedded we are. We in Black, we are the both and, especially those of us that sit in quote unquote professional identities and corporate spaces. We're always in it. And part of it is also caught up in our survival as well. So that's where I go to too. It's like, okay, Walmart, okay, Target, okay, HEB. who was around the table when you were workshopping this?
Right.
And are they kinfolk and not just skinfolk? Like, and I also think about like what it might be like if you're one of none, right? You're the only one and you are on the committee. How much power do you even have in those settings to be
how
able
honest
to
can you actually be?
How honest can you be? And even if you are honest, how it doesn't mean that they're going to take your comment seriously. Trust me, I have been frank and honest around a lot of boardroom tables, and people have looked at me awkwardly, chuckled, and then moved right on. Right. And so, you know, I do think about that. I think about it on an individual level, right? From a mental health perspective, because I know what it was like for me to constantly feel like your voice is devalued and undermined. And to also feel like a sense of responsibility, right? We can talk about that not necessarily being necessary, but it is true. When you are tokenized, there's you really don't have a choice in being the token, because whatever you say is going to be perceived through that lens, right? Yep. And you can sort of try to take advantage of that as much as possible. But also, I think there's a lot of recognition that at the end of the day, your pushback might not mean a whole lot, might not matter a whole lot.
Anything at all. Yeah. It's I'm similar to you. I don't think it was a mistake. You know, like I know that there are Black people. So, you know, the other thing about this is like, yes, it became a holiday last year. There have been people who've been working towards this for a long time,
yes,
right? Who've been working, Black people, right? You know, who are descendants of enslaved African people, you know, who've been working for a long time. They want to get the word out about Juneteenth. They want everybody to know. So in that sense, it's kind of a success, right? You know, like it's done. Like people know what it is. It's outside of Texas. Like people, it's a federal holiday, right? Like everybody has to do it. You can't escape it. But it's just, once again, when white people get a hold of something, you have no control over it anymore. You know, right. And that's a dangerous thing because they could turn it into, this is Freedom Day. Right? Like, actually, this is just Freedom Day. And no. And actually, last year, that's what I saw, if I'm not mistaken. People were like, oh, no, this is just Freedom Day.
No.
Right? It's supposed to represent freedom for everybody. It's like,
doesn't know. It's a very, very specific freedom. And we still try to cash in on that check, to be clear.
You know, because, and then there's the whole other conversation about enslavement, like chattel slavery, enslavement. Yes, that ended. Right, like that.
But baby, we rolled right on into that
flavor of it, right? But they said, "All right, we're gonna throw this in the freezer. We're gonna try something else. It's gonna be the frozen version of it. You know, like here's the version, right?"
It's like when I sometimes I'll bake a whole chicken, and we're gonna eat the chicken for the dinner, and then at some point in the week we go have chicken. Fajita tacos, and then at some point in the week we had chicken salad. So like that's all it was, right? We had like this brief moment, right, during Reconstruction where we started to do some things. They were like, "Oh, wait a minute, no. Let's get y'all back under our thumb because we can't have y'all actually be empowered and with economic power and control. Y'all, what y'all want to isolate yourself?
Complex. You know,
and here we are.
13th. David Duvernay on Netflix. It'll give you a lot about this. Slavery by Another Name. There's a documentary on PBS about that, as well as a book, right? Like literally, chattel slavery got a makeover into the prison industrial complex. No, like it's that link is direct.
It's very, very fact. Yes. So much so, Jide, let me out myself. I've never been able to watch 13. I started watching it and I felt, especially because I think I was still in academia when it first came out. And I really struggle oftentimes of like, how am I supposed to go to work and look at y'all in the eye and treat you like a person when I know this truth? Like, I really don't know how to oftentimes sit in that level of stark reality. So I know enough, but to sort of sit and watch the narrative. And also there's something a little bit disconcerting to me to watch scholars talk about things that are really harmful, but from like a scholarly lens. Like, I'm like, why y'all sitting? Why is everybody so calm? Like, why?
Yeah. I get that.
I
get that. This is like a fire alarm, you know, and you're just sitting here in your suit. That's, you know, in 1933.
Yes. You're right. Reciting off dates and important folks. So yeah, I have yet to finish that. But I will say this on the front end, like, so on the positive side, yes, the recognition that people did work hard for it, acknowledgement. I think there's probably a small percentage of white folks for whom there's enough consciousness that awareness around this holiday facilitates their continuing to sort of do, anti-racism work. A small amount, you know.
You did say small amount. That's
a small amount, to be clear. You know, and you can't see me, but I'm doing like a little sliver, like a like a little skim across the top. But it was great to be able to have a conversation with my 10-year-old about it, and to really get into the sort of meat and bones of what it means and what does freedom really look like for us and that sort of thing. And then we took the day out yesterday just to sort of be together, and I cooked and we ate very well and we hung out and spent time. And so nice. I do think, and I also think anytime Black folks could get a paid day off, whatever the job is, we'll take that, right? We'll take that.
Right.
Go ahead.
I think for me, it's just like Juneteenth napkins at Walmart is awful. Like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like that's okay. That's especially Walmart, right, which treats people crappy and whatever. A Black store wants to do it, I think I'm okay with it. But Walmart, I'm not okay.
Oh yeah, like if there was a Black seller on Etsy with Juneteenth shirts or Juneteenth embroidered
happy to buy
napkins. It. Come on, sis, show me. Let me put it in my cart. That's not the same thing.
I think we have to just continually, just like other holidays, you got to make it for you. Like. You have to hold on to this holiday for you and your family and make it meaningful for the people around you. Yes. Here's what Juneteenth is about to my family and my friends, and this is why we celebrate it, and block out all the other noise because that stuff will just drive us.
So let me ask you this question today before we wrap up. So if if let's say the holiday didn't happen on a Sunday, right? Let's say you were at work on Friday and a white colleague said, well, enjoy your weekend. Happy Juneteenth. How do you respond to that? A white colleague says to you, enjoy your weekend, G-Day. Happy Juneteenth.
There's internal G-Day and external G-Day.
Let's get into it.
Right. External G-Day says, thank you, you too. And I'm just going to go about my day, because I just don't have the energy, right? Like that's probably like the sixth silly comment I've heard that day from somebody, so whatever, I bounce it off. But internally, I'm like, please leave me alone. Like part of me is like, on this holiday, I want to be left alone, right? I think that's kind of what it means for me is that like I don't want to engage with y'all. Like this is a holiday for me and my people to celebrate what we need to do, right? I don't want to engage. Leave me alone. Don't talk to me about Juneteenth.
I had real mixed feelings about it. Somebody that I like I have a congenial relationship with texted me to say happy Juneteenth, and it took me forever to respond, and I was like, G-Day, I'm an effusive texter. You get the full flavor of Dr. Nikki even through texting. I'm an emoji. I'm all caps. I'm gonna use my exclamation mark. You're gonna know. And so I was
voice note, the whole thing.
I will leave it. I will give you as much of myself through text as possible. And I just finally ended up with like a thanks. I couldn't even muster a thank you, or there was no exclamation, because I said just something about this doesn't feel a kind of way, and I also don't feel like on my Juneteenth even getting into this with them.
Exactly. I think part of it is that it's still new. It's still new. Right, we're still trying to figure out the norms of it. I'm sure the first Christmas was confusing, right? So I think we're still figuring it out, and that may be a part of the kind of like, what are you supposed to say? Because what is it? I think it's Yom Kippur. I don't know.
Is that the Day of Atonement?
I don't know, but there's like a holiday. Yes, there's a Day of Atonement, and like schools will put out like happy, whatever. And it's like, no.
That's not what that day is about.
That's not what this day is about, right? Sorry to my Jewish friends. I'm unsure of specifically which day it is.
I'm gonna look it up. Are you looking? G-Day is gonna look it up for us so we can get it together. But I agree. I need to sit with it and figure it out. But I did it. It did immediately make me think about Black folks that are still in corporate spaces where this is happening, and how to navigate that, because it's new, because it is fraught, and also I just think it's a new opportunity for microaggressions, and so
it is Yom Kippur.
It is Yom Kippur. Good. Day of Atonement. Okay, good. And so we try to leave y'all with some tips or whatever. And I do like. So what I always used to say is, when you experience microaggressions, you always have to decide if you got time today. Do I have time today to deal with this or not? And some days you don't. And on some topics you just don't. And I think just sort of, I'm not going to say you too. I'm not going to say happy Juneteenth back. I'm just going to be like, thanks. I think as like a general, and leave me alone, right? Like, thanks, leave me alone.
How would you feel if somebody sent you money on Juneteenth?
Oh, I'm going to take it.
A white person sent you money on Juneteenth.
Cash at me.
Money on Juneteenth last year.
Shut up.
Yeah, please Venmo me. Yeah. Yeah. But even still, it felt kind of weird. It felt kind of weird, like just to see this Venmo, and I'm like, oh,
still is weird.
Like, don't get me wrong.
It's money.
But if any white people are listening to this and they want to send money, feel free.
That's right. Cash at me, Venmo, Dr. Nikki knows.
We'll work through our feelings with the money.
Right. We will get some ice cream or a cappuccino. We'll make it work. For that. Yes. Awesome. So that is Juneteenth. We hope that you had some time with your family or loved ones. You had whatever you needed to celebrate Black liberation, Black joy, Black freedom. The other part I didn't mention is what I always try to do for myself is just spend some time in the morning for me in reflection, and just honoring and thinking about my ancestors. And yes, we will never gaslight you here at the break room and pretend like structural racism, systemic racism, interpersonal racism isn't alive and well, and that it doesn't impact us. We talk about race-related stress and all of that all the time. And
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Sorry, it just came to me.
Yeah.
When you said something, and maybe this is a topic for a whole other podcast that we can get into. So I'm Nigerian. My parents are born in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Are they my ancestors also?
I think so. Don't you think so?
I part of me thinks so, right? Because listen, I was born and raised in America. Like I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, right?
I do think this is a whole other podcast.
I think that I could see somebody have a reasonable argument, like not, we can go back and forth politely, where somebody says, actually they're not your ancestors. And I'd be open to hearing that. and having that discussion. We should hold on to that for a future episode.
Well, I think we should, because it's like that, the Instagram reels about how do you know? Don't say that. How do you know that? Like, literally, it could be in your lineage. We don't know. Yeah. But I do think this is we'll make a note to have a whole podcast about this. Right.
Yeah.
The diaspora.
Write it down.
But my point that I was going to make is in my reflection and meditation and quiet time, I always want to acknowledge that all of those that have come before me endured things that I can never imagine. And I do believe that it was the hope and belief that things would be better for their children's children, and their children's children that probably sustained them, right? Like, I think there's a level of resilience that comes along with us, but humans can only take so much, right? And so the hope and belief for better, I'm sure, was a big part of that. And so I try to keep that in mind and just be grateful for all of the privileges that I hold, right? As as a Black woman with a PhD and a homeowner and all the things that we have, it did not come without loss and bloodshed and strife. And so I am grateful to be here for that. So make sure that you take some time out, of course, in your celebration of Juneteenth to honor those who come before you and be grateful for the privileges and joy and liberation that you do have. And that's that on that, G-Day.
That's that. So you know what? Last nerve's all yours. Last nerve all
and so to the point, right? To bring it full circle. Last week, I think it was last Thursday or Friday, like very, very recently, a young Black man, teenager, driving through a neighborhood in Sanford, Florida, which happens to be the same same town where Trayvon Martin was killed by George Zimmerman. This young man was riding through in a Mercedes, and he was accosted by white elder adult homeowners and residents in the area. Them demanding him to acknowledge why he was there. What are you doing here? Why are you here?
Vandalized his car.
And then what'd you say?
They vandalized his vehicle as well.
Yes, and then they threw a rock. They threw something through his back window, like with so much force that it busted the back window, passenger window open, and even like dented the car. You know what kind of force you got to use? Like that has to be something heavy, just because he was driving through. And so yes, we talk about
full-grown adult white people.
Like these people, if they were under 60, then they just have aged very poorly. I know they were arrested. I think they got out on bail. They were arrested, and I don't think they were in for very long. But these were grown white people. So we talk about Juneteenth in one breath, and then we talk about like, are we going back to sundown towns? Like, why does anyone have to justify driving through a neighborhood for any particular reason? And yet, here we are. So this is just a message to any of our so-called white allies or accomplices or whoever else might hear this. Y'all don't own us. Like, you don't own us. And we don't have to justify being in any space because we're Americans and we're free. And if that boy wanted to drive through your neighborhood just because he wanted to look at the big houses, that's his damn business. If he was driving through the neighborhood because he was going to meet a friend, that's his damn business. If he was driving through the neighborhood because he got lost, that's his damn business. If he was driving through the neighborhood because it was a shortcut, that is his damn business. You don't own the streets, in fact. You don't own the land. None of us own the land. We're all settlers on this land if we want to really, really get into it. But you don't have the right to accost. I don't know where this level of audacity, like where is the audacity pipe they've been smoking on lately? Because they are just out of control.
2016. Since 2016. Since 2016. They've been on that. Oh, okay. It's our time again. Yep.
Man, it's time to pass. You're supposed to puff
That's
pass.
my analysis.
I agree. Puff up pass. So get off of it. And the thing about it is, we also are not uncomfortable with confrontation, right? So you reap what you sow. Let me just say it that way. You reap what you sow, and also just want to spend a special shout out to that young man and his family. These are the sort of incidents that really do qualify as Black trauma, but they are so normalized that we sort of acknowledge them, talk about them, and move on. So I hope that he has the opportunity and space to sort of process and talk about the experience. I hope he gets whatever sort of support he needs in moving forward. But trust and believe that was a critical incident in his life, and he won't forget. And I'm really curious to see what he might do differently as he moves forward in the world.
Wishing him healing. Wishing him healing.
For sure. But white folks, leave us be. We can go to any store we want. We can drive down any public street we want. We can go to any park we want. And our children can slide down any slide they want to slide down. They don't have to let your child go first. None of the things. You don't own us.
And understand this, white people. This is really important to know. For every 5 times you try it, people do the calculation and go, you know what, it's not going to be worth it. And they're going to walk away and they're going to go about their business and whatever. Every once in a while, just know. And that ass whooping you get, nobody wants to hear anything. Nobody
wants to hear anything because you gonna come across her, fuck around and find out mama one day. Mm-hmm. It will eventually.
Everybody's not going to be scared of you. Everybody's not going to be scared of you. Don't ever forget that in your life.
Not
no matter how tough you are, no matter how big you are, no matter how bad you are, everybody's not going to be scared of you. So,
somebody is going to Miss Sophia you. They're going to punch you dead in your eye just for the satisfaction of punching you dead in your eye. So, everybody, I hope you enjoyed your Juneteenth. And thank you for joining us again here for this week's episode of The Break Room. If ever you want to contact us, you can always email us at The Break Room. Oh my God, I always forget it. At living-corporate.com. Thank you, The Break Room at living-corporate.com. And make sure you rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you might find this podcast. Peace.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.